The WTA is in full-blown meltdown mode, and the digital evidence is disappearing before our very eyes. They thought they could hit the delete button and make the world forget, but the internet never forgets. The reality is that the Women's Tennis Association has officially entered a period of total procedural breakdown. They are no longer running a professional sports tour, they are running a cover-up operation. The recent deletion of Aryna Sabalenka's photo wasn't a mistake or a social media glitch. It was a calculated, desperate move by a failing organization to hide a truth they couldn't control. Steve Simon and the WTA executives are currently panicking behind closed doors because their house of cards is falling apart. They spent years trying to craft a specific image, but one photo of Sabalenka threatened to destroy the entire narrative. When the photo first went up, the fans saw the real Sabalenka, a powerhouse who doesn't play by the WTA's manufactured rules. But within minutes, the order came down from the top. The command was simple: scrub it from the record. This wasn't about brand consistency or technical errors. It was about silencing a hero who refuses to be a puppet for the corporate office. The WTA thought they could quietly remove the post and move on, but all they did was expose their own cowardice. The documents prove that the WTA has established a strict protocol for sanitizing any content that doesn't fit their narrow commercial interests. They are terrified of Sabalenka's raw power and her refusal to bow down to their ridiculous PR demands. By deleting that photo, they didn't just remove a digital file, they attempted to delete the identity of one of the greatest players in the world. This is the definition of a procedural failure that starts at the very top of the organization. The truth is that the WTA is currently being held hostage by its own bad decisions and even worse leadership. Every time a player like Sabalenka shows a hint of genuine personality or defiance, the red sirens go off in the WTA headquarters. They don't want athletes, they want obedient influencers who will smile for the cameras and never question the system. Sabalenka is the ultimate threat to that system because she cannot be bought and she cannot be quieted. The deletion of her photo was a direct attack on her brand and her legacy as a champion. But what happened next was even more shocking to the fans who are watching in real time. As soon as the photo vanished, the WTA's social media team tried to pivot to generic content as if nothing had happened. They thought the fans were too distracted to notice the gap in the feed. They were wrong. The fans saw the move for exactly what it was: a pathetic attempt at censorship. The WTA executives are now facing a level of backlash they never anticipated. They are being exposed as manipulators who care more about their sponsors than the integrity of the sport. The commercial interests behind this move are deeper and darker than anyone realized. The reality is that certain sponsors and international partners were unhappy with the image Sabalenka was projecting in that specific moment. Instead of standing by their athlete, the WTA chose to bend the knee to the money. They showed their true colors by siding with the villains in the boardroom over the hero on the court. This is a betrayal of everything the WTA was supposed to stand for when it was founded decades ago. The documents and internal memos prove that there is a blacklist of content that the WTA is no longer allowed to show. If a photo doesn't meet the pre-approved aesthetic of their highest-paying partners, it gets the axe. Sabalenka's photo was just the latest victim of this corporate purge. The WTA is effectively shadow banning its own stars to keep their sponsors happy. This isn't just a PR move, it is a total abandonment of the players who actually make the tour possible. Without Sabalenka, the WTA is nothing, yet they treat her like a liability. The leadership at the WTA has become so disconnected from the fans that they actually thought this would work. They believe they can control the narrative by controlling the pixels on a screen. But the world is waking up to the fact that the WTA is a sinking ship. The executives are rearranging the deck chairs while the water pours in. Every deleted photo and every silent statement is just more proof that the system is broken beyond repair. They're fighting a losing battle against the truth, and Sabalenka is the one holding the line. The reality is that this deletion was a calculated lie to the public. They want us to believe in a version of women's tennis that doesn't exist. They want a version that is polished, quiet, and completely controlled. But Sabalenka represents the reality of the sport. It is intense, it is loud, and it's sometimes messy. By deleting that photo, the WTA tried to tell the world that the real Sabalenka isn't good enough for their brand. It's a disgusting insult to a woman who has given her life to this game. The industry is already starting to distance themselves from this level of incompetence. Major media outlets and even some secondary sponsors are beginning to ask questions about the WTA's strange behavior. They see an organization that is more interested in narrative control than in growing the sport. The fallout from this photo scandal is just the beginning of a much larger collapse. Steve Simon's tenure has been marked by one disaster after another, but this act of blatant censorship might be the final straw. The WTA Playbook is a document filled with rules designed to keep players in check. It's not about fairness or competition, it's about ensuring that the product remains profitable and predictable. There are clauses in the player handbooks that give the WTA unilateral discretion over promotional material. They use these technicalities to bully players into silence. If a player complains about a deleted photo or missed promotional opportunity, they are told it's just standard procedure. But the reality is that it is a targeted weapon used to suppress anyone who doesn't fit the mold. We have seen this pattern of behavior before with other troublesome heroes who dared to speak their minds. The WTA has a long history of burying stories that make them look bad. They have hushed up locker room disputes, ignored player safety concerns, and manipulated rankings to favor their marketable stars. Sabalenka is just the latest target because she is too big to ignore and too strong to break. The tour is trying to diminish her star power because they can't control what she says or how she acts. The financial evidence shows where the WTA's priorities really lie. While they claim they are player first, their budget for brand protection and legal compliance has skyrocketed. They are spending millions of dollars on consultants to tell them how to hide the truth from the fans. Meanwhile, the actual prize money for lower tier tournaments continues to stagnate. They're literally taking money out of the sport to fund their censorship machine. It is a disgrace to the legacy of the original 9 who fought for equality and transparency. The villain in this story isn't just one person, it is the entire executive structure of the WTA. They have created an environment where transparency is viewed as a threat. They operate in the shadows, making deals that benefit themselves while the players suffer the consequences. When the photo of Sabalenka was deleted, it wasn't a mistake by a social media intern. It was a directive from a boardroom filled with people who have never hit a tennis ball in their lives. They are bureaucrats trying to manage a masterpiece, and they are failing miserably. Sabalenka's meltdown was never a reality. It was a narrative created by the WTA to justify their actions. They want the public to believe that she is difficult or unstable so they can justify their censorship. But the fans see through the lies. They see a champion who is being sabotaged by her own organization. The procedural failure here belongs entirely to the tour. They failed to support their athlete, they failed to be honest with the fans, and they failed to uphold the values of professional sports. The legal defeat for the WTA is coming sooner than they think. There are already whispers of players organizing to demand more control over their own images and likenesses. businesses. They are tired of being treated like digital assets that can be deleted at the whim of a CEO. The era of the WTA having total control over a player's brand is coming to an end. Sabalenka is the face of this revolution, whether she intended to be or not. Every time the WTA tries to push her down, she only becomes more iconic in the eyes of the public. The accusations against Sabalenka and other outspoken players are falling apart. The WTA tried to frame the photo deletion as a matter of complying with local regulations or technical standards, but those excuses are being debunked by experts who know how these platforms work. There was no technical reason to delete that content. It was purely a matter of optics and ego. The villains at the top couldn't handle the fact that Sabalenka was getting more attention than their carefully curated marketing campaigns. The industry is shifting and the WTA is being left behind. Other sports leagues are embracing the raw, authentic moments of their athletes. They understand that fans want to see the real person behind the uniform.